Okay, so now we're going to learn about the multiplier effect. Okay, the multiplier effect actually refers to the AE diagram, okay, whereby the slope of the AE curve is determined by a certain amount of factors. And what are these factors that we need to look out for? Okay, so now when we derive the multiplier, okay, what we are going to get, okay, is basically something that looks like this. Okay, I have my income equals to 1 over 1 minus m multiplied by a bar. Now what is a bar? A bar is my autonomous expenditure, okay, which is not affected by income. And m is my multiplier. Okay, so that's about it. Now, we'll be doing a few examples. Okay, the first example is when there are lump sum taxes. Okay, the second example is when there are proportional taxes. Okay, and the third example is going to be when there is a rich and poor divide in the economy. Okay, so for lump sum taxes, okay, we have the standard three components, okay, in a closed economy. We have got C, I, and G, and we expand that out into C0 plus C1 bracket y minus t, I equals to I0 minus I1 R0, and G is just G0, right? So at equilibrium, we have this, AE equals to Y equals to everything dumped down here. So what we're going to do first is we are going to open up the brackets so that we can put all those components with the capital letter Y on the left side. Okay, so I've expanded it out, and as you can see, there's only one component here with the Y inside, so I'm going to move this to this side, and I've got this. So I'm going to group everything else into A bar, because that's autonomous, right? It's not affected by income. So I can just substitute everything into this thing called A bar, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to factorize Y outside, and I get this. Okay, and I'm just going to bring this over to the other side, and I have this. Okay, and then I'm just going to put a bracket around there to show that this is M. Okay, so essentially my multiplier M is just C1. You see, simple, right? The procedure is very simple, but sometimes the maths can get really complicated because there are many components, as you will see later. But the procedure is always the same. You just have to isolate Y on the other side, okay, and you group all the autonomous stuff into one jumbo thing called A bar, and you just leave Y the other side, bringing the rest of the junk to the right side, and you just gotta make sure that it's in this format, 1 over 1 minus something m inside. Okay, so let's look at a situation where we have got proportional taxes. Now this starts to get a little bit tougher. So proportional taxes, everything is the same except that I've got a 1 minus small letter t over here. So at equilibrium, I have got this. So I just took everything and dumped it down here. Okay, and then same thing, I'm going to proceed to isolate Y on the left side. So if you have any better ways to do this, if you are very meticulous, being meticulous is one of the important things, but if you have any better ways, you can always do so, but I'm breaking it down into simpler steps so that we can all understand. Okay, so I'm going to open up the brackets, okay, and you can see there's a Y over here, so I'm going to bring this and this over to the other side, and everything else is going to be A bar. There. See? Then I'm going to factorize Y, and I get this. Simple, right? Then I'm going to take this and put below here, and I've got this. See? So now, how am I going to make this into 1 minus m kind of format? So I'm gonna take out minus 1. I'm gonna factorize minus 1, and I've got this. Okay, now don't look at this first. Okay, I've got this. Right, so this essentially becomes 1 minus 1 over 1 minus something. Right, then the something is inside this bracket, and that's the m. So this is my multiplier. Okay, and now you look at this, which is this, and you compare that with the one that we did previously. So the multiplier previously is C1, and my multiplier now is this. Okay, now this is a bracket. Okay, now this is my multiplier over here. Okay, so we're gonna compare those two things. Okay, now which one do you think is bigger? Obviously this is bigger, right? Because as you can see, C1 Okay, it's going to be bigger because when C1 multiplied by a fraction, this is going to be a fraction. This thing over here is a fraction. Because 1 minus t is less than 1, so this is a fraction. A fraction of C1 will definitely be smaller than C1, right? So comparing these two stuff over here, we actually have a diagram over here. So this is my AE curve for an economy with proportional taxes, and because the multiplier is bigger for one with lump sum taxes, is gonna be rotated outwards, okay, and you can reach a higher equilibrium. So that's where the multiplier effect comes in. With a bigger multiplier effect, you will get a bigger output, okay, given that amount of expenditure that the economy puts in, okay, because of the slope. Okay, so yeah, this is the importance of the multiplier effect. Okay, so now just for exercise and for fun, let's do something very difficult. Okay, and you will realize that it's actually not that bad. Alright, let's take a look at a scenario when there's an income gap. Okay, so between the rich and the poor. So my C equation is going to be like this: C0, okay, plus C1P. So C1P is my marginal propensity to consume for the poor people. Okay, and this lump sum taxes are proportional taxes, and the poor people earn alpha amount of the economy's income. So this is for the poor people. And for the rich people, we have got their MPC multiplied by 1 minus t, that's my proportional tax. And they earn the rest of the income, which is 1 minus 8, and multiplied by y. I is the same, and let's make it even more challenging. There's a balanced budget policy. So G will equal to small letter t times y. Okay, now why is it t times y? You know, there's so much crap over here. How did I manage to simplify this into t y? Okay, so basically what I did was, you look at what is the taxes collected from the poor. It will be TAY, T. Okay, and what is my taxes from the rich? It will be t, small letter t, multiplied by the amount of income that they earn, which is 1 minus a times y. Okay, so therefore I'm just going to add these two together. Okay, and t plus this thing equals to t plus this thing. I just expanded it out. Okay, and basically it becomes ty, because t minus t is 0. Okay, in a sense, please don't say t. Alright, so let's do this challenging thing. So at equilibrium, I've got this. Okay, so it take a while to digest this. Basically, it's everything just dumped into an equation over here. Okay, so I'm going to proceed to isolate y. So I'm going to simplify all these things. Okay, what I did was I opened up the brackets, but I just left 1 minus a inside there. Okay? Right. Okay, so what I did was I'm going to take all these y components, I'm going to throw it to that side. And I'm going to call everything else a bar. Okay, now I'm gonna factorize y, and I get all this bunch of stuff over here. Actually, you can press pause if you want to. Then I'm going to simplify this side. Okay, by I don't know. What I did was, yeah. Okay, and then I got this. And then I got this. And I finally this. I'm just gonna substitute everything this into this thing called m. And I'm gonna bring this down. Okay, so that is my multiplier. Okay, so we have done a lot of, we've gone through so many steps, and there's so many figures and numbers, yada yada yada. So what happens when the income gap increases? Okay, so we gotta know what's gonna happen when each of these components change, right? So what's a better way than to differentiate the m, the multiplier? Okay, now differentiation is easy. Okay, now you just gotta identify what's your m. So I know that my m is this figure over here. So what's going to happen is that I'm going to differentiate m. So what happens when the income gap increases? So how do I know whether the income gap increases? It is when alpha increases, right? Because alpha is the proportion of poor people. So if there are more poor people now, that means A has increased, right? So I know that my multiplier is this. Okay, I'm gonna expand everything out so that differentiation is gonna be easier. Okay, so now I'm gonna differentiate with respect to alpha, because I don't know what happens to alpha, right? So after differentiating this, okay, so this, the power of 1, bring down, okay, a will be gone, so I've got c1p, and this one I'll have negative cr1, okay, a will be gone, I have negative t cp1, and I have got one more here, cr1t. Okay, now I'm going to simplify that. Okay, what I did was I took out t, I factorized t, okay, and I factorize again this whole thing. I'm going to take out this 2 because these two are similar, and I got 1 minus t. Okay, so I've got a positive figure because remember, the MPC for the poor is always bigger than the MPC for the rich. So I have a positive number over here. 1 minus a fraction will be a positive as well. So positive times positive will be positive. So that means when there are more poor people, my multiplier will become bigger. So is it better to have more poor people? Quite subjective, right? Okay, so yeah, anyway, that was the multiplier. If you notice, this was actually a remake of the previous multiplier video because I made a maths mistake. Yeah, so the important thing is you gotta be meticulous when you're doing all the equations and stuff. If not, you will get mistakes.